What's up, Infected? Welcome to the Kwarenteen. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a game by the name of Cultists of Cthulhu. So what is Cultists of Cthulhu? Well, thematically, you and your fellow academics are roaming around the Miskatonic University trying to uncover and banish an old god from entering this world and, of course, destroying everything because it's H.P. Lovecraft. However, one of the players are actually a hidden cultist that their whole job and their whole goal is to kill everybody so they can get away with summoning their great old one and their dark lord to come and devour humanity or whatever. The game borrows many aspects from games such as Betrayal in the House on the Hill and Mansions of Madness, among several other styles of games where the players are moving around a tile-based Miskatonic University, actually, roaming around trying to accomplish goals and then get to a certain area and actually succeed in the overall goal, and with mild hidden traitor elements where one player is the bad guy trying to stop everybody and trying to not be known for as long as possible. But that's really the best way I can explain it, so let's go over to the overview. In Cultists of Cthulhu, the players will collectively and cooperatively build the Miskatonic University before anything in the game happens. After the players have decided which old one they're going to play, which one of the several characters they're going to play, whether they choose or whether they get dealt random, and they've set up the Miskatonic University, then the players are going to be ready to play. And their ultimate goal is going to vary depending on which scenario they've chosen. So are they going to deal with the esoteric Order of Dagon? Or maybe they're going to try to deal with the King in Yellow, he who should not be named. After that, each player is going to get a loyalty card based on this scenario that you're playing, and it can be one of three, and then everybody else will get a standard academic card. You're going to shuffle those up and deal one out to each player, so everybody knows exactly where their allegiances lie from the very beginning of the game. At the beginning of a player's turn, they will draw either an indoor and an outdoor event, which has a test on it that they have to pass. After they've rolled that test and dealt with any of the outcomes, they're free to perform 2 actions on their turn, and now they are allowed to do the same action more than once. The actions consist of moving around the Miskatonic University. It involves attacking players, performing actions related to the room or the scenario, and maybe trading and or stealing items from each other. The specific scenario and or room actions that are available are at the bottom of the character sheet. So for example, or the scenario sheet. So for example, the art room, you can test finesse and fill it with red to find a piece of the Elder Sign. After each player has taken a turn, then you're going to draw one of the stars cards, which is going to advise you how many advancements this star chart is going to take, along with any potential lasting weather effects or anything that may affect this coming round. Keeping in mind that depending on the cultist in play, they could get really powerful abilities at 15, 20, or 25 on the star chart, making every advancement on this star chart a stressful experience. But fear not, as an academic, as long as you can find and assemble the Elder Sign and accomplish all of the objectives on your scenario, then you will completely seal away the old one, winning the game for the academics. However, as a cultist, if you can kill everybody else in the game, then nobody stands in your way to destroy that Elder Sign and allow your old one to break loose into this world. Maybe with a little bit of strategy and a little bit of teamwork, and maybe even a little bit of luck, maybe a victory will be just within your grasp. Alright, Cultists of Cthulhu. Well, right out of the gates, I should probably mention, I like Lovecraft, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Like, I love the games, I love the universe, I love the mythos, but I never really read a whole lot of his books. I just know kind of what I hear and kind of what I've seen online and what I learn in games, stuff like this. But his books I find incredibly dry and shoot me please. I do not enjoy reading them at all. But I was still really stoked because my brother is a huge Lovecraft fan. He's read all the books. He's huge in the mythos. So I was really stoked to try this out. When I got it, that excitement and that the levels of excitement that I was reading just immediately went in the trash when I cracked the rulebook. Because I'm gonna say right out of the gates, the rulebook is easily one of the worst rulebooks I've read. Some of the actions that you can do in the game, I couldn't find them anywhere in the rulebook. I had to contact the designer, and this isn't even a Kickstarter prototype. This is a Kickstarter game, but I have an after production, I have a production copy of the game, and some of the actions, trading, for example, couldn't find it in the rulebook at all. Maybe I overlooked it, it's very fair, but I sat in this rulebook for almost 2 hours just trying to learn the game. And I had to contact the designer and was like, well, what am I supposed to do if they have 3 pieces of the Elder Sign and they have 3 pieces of the Elder Sign? He's like, oh, well, you can trade them. Well, that would be awesome to know in the rules. On top of that, loaded with typos. It never really clarifies a lot of things. The layout is just not very intuitive. It's very difficult to read. On top of that, a lot of the scenario cards are the exact same way. There's typos in scenario cards, and some of them don't make a lot of sense. There's one of them, I don't even remember which one it is, but one of them I won't even play. I want to say it's the Pharaoh one or the Egyptian one. Cannot for the life of me remember his name, but I won't even play that one because there's so many typos on it, I could not figure out what the hell you're supposed to do in it. But once I finally got to the point where I felt I could play the game and understood how to play, we set it up, and it's got a really cool mechanic that's similar to like Carcassonne, where you take these tiles, but you all cooperatively build the map and build the Miskatonic University, and that's really, really cool. I love games that do that because you do that before you get your loyalty. So do you build it to where, because you already know what the scenario is, so do you build the Miskatonic University to be able to complete that scenario easily in hopes that you get the trader? Or do you try to make it difficult, but then what if you get the trader card? So now it's even harder for you to actually win. And so that's a really cool mechanic. And then the dice mechanic where, you know, if I draw a card and I have to test something and it shows a feather, and okay, I gotta test finesse. My finesse shows a blue and a green. Okay, I grab a blue and a green die, and then the background of that card is red. So I fill up to 5 with red. So now I'm rolling 5 dice, 1 green, 1 blue, 3 red. Red being the worst, and I think green being the best. Now I roll those. Now, before I accept that result, I get to choose one symbol and reroll all dice with that symbol, which brings a really cool like luck mitigation aspect of the game, which is cool because now you have to think, okay, well, what if you rolled a bunch of these symbols, which I think are the worst symbol in the game, but all of those symbols are on the red die. So do you reroll those die and probably get the same result, or maybe do you reroll the single blue die that has this symbol on it, maybe? So in hopes that you get an Elder Sign because it's a little more likely. So you wind up, it has a little bit of strategy and you're like, okay, well, how do I want to do this? What, you know, do I potentially want to waste my roll? And it's cool, and I like that. But that's pretty much where the cool parts of the game end, except for the building the Elder Sign. There's pieces in a bag, you gotta pull out the little baggie, which doesn't come with the game, but I used a baggie. You're supposed to use an opaque cup or something. But it's cool because you're like, oh, please don't give me another middle piece because I already have a middle piece, or I really need a middle piece, and there's only like 2 in the bag, so you're really hoping for that middle piece, and other than that, the outsides are all the same. And that's pretty much where the game falls flat on its face, because there's very little tension and stress in the game. You look at games like Battlestar Galactica, Dead of Winter, even Shadows of Camelot, you know, the bad guy player, the traitor, has the ability to usually like sneak in some bad cards somewhere or find an excuse of like, oh, I had to play this over here, I didn't have a choice, and stuff like that. And that's what makes you go, well, did they actually not have a choice, or did they do that because they're a traitor? But there's never anything like that in this game. There's no reason for you to be an asshole. You're just being a jerk. You're the traitor. Simple as that. Cut and dry. It winds up becoming just a race against the clock, figuring out who the bad guy is, who's not cooperating and who's not playing efficiently. All right, they're the traitor. We have to beat him into the ground. That winds up being what the goal is. And it's either that or this is our objective. Everybody stand on one of the rooms and just use your actions to keep rolling and hope we get it before, you know, this guy kills us. That's pretty much it. And sadly, it's not a very fun game. It's got a pretty neat little sanity mechanism that once the stars reach a certain point, the traitor reveals their card, and then now everybody reveals theirs, and depending on where they are on their sanity meter, they get buffs, or they get usually debuffs, and bad things happen, and then that's pretty cool. The wounds mechanism is super clunky. Figuring out what happens when somebody dies, good luck finding that in the rulebook. But just the combat is all right. But overall, just it falls flat. It's not very fun. It's very dull. It's everybody that played this afterward, about halfway through a game, they're just like, let's hurry this up and get the game over with. Are you the traitor? Can we just say you won? And that was actually something somebody said during a game. It's not fun, and I don't want to keep bashing the game. Overall, no, I cannot recommend Cultists of Cthulhu at all. It's not very fun. It never is tense. It's just a dull slog that, again, is just not very fun. It has some really cool mechanisms, but everything else with the game, the terrible rulebook, the boring gameplay, all of that just drags this game into the mud and slowly drowns it. And on Board Game Geek, it has an 8, and I feel like I'm missing something because I cannot imagine how this game has an 8. That is my review for Cultists of Cthulhu, and I will see you guys next time in the Quarantine.